Oh, got it. Okay. Do y'all get
Got
that
it.
message too? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah.
Like, do you casually accept that we're gonna stream? All right. Welcome to Two Blacks and Mexicans special live stream. This is our Christmas holiday themed stream. We're going to talk about Home Sweet Home Alone and how we decided we were going to watch it and compare it to the original Home Alone, and then we collectively kind of vaguely unintentionally all didn't. And then we're just going to talk about why. Like, why did we make that choice? I feel like
we're at this point clearly a hive mind, and there was just a decision that happened spontaneously, unbidden, came to us. It's like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, you can tell too, because usually, like when we do a movie, we're all like a couple of days before. You can see like the comments start to trickle into the chat, like, oh man,
Yeah.
like you can see, like, okay, we started watching it. Nobody was talking about that at all. Like, there was no conversation at all about that movie.
There's a. Do you know? Have you seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yeah.
yes.
So I don't know
Love
if you
that
remember.
movie.
I've seen. So that was like a childhood favorite for
Me
me. Like
too.
my cousins
Yeah.
and I would watch it. It was one of those recorded off HBO on VHS tape.
Yep.
And I have to give my friend Angel props for pointing this out. But there's a scene at the end where there's like a fire in a pet store, and he's trying to escape from the Warner Brothers security team. Like, remember, he steals his bike back, and he's like on this madcap, like running through all these movie sets. But finally, he's like almost, cleared everybody, and there's this pet shop that's on fire. And he's like, oh man, like you can see the decision making of like, I gotta go in. There's chimpanzees in there for some reason. There's all these dogs, like doves, all this crazy, and like a big old giant tank full of like, I don't know, 1,000 goldfish.
Yeah.
And like, and the very last, he keeps going past this tank of snakes. And the snake has like, I don't know, 100 little garter snakes or something in there. And he keeps looking at it like, oh, I'm not going to look at that. And then finally, like the very last thing he does is he's like, you see him looking at the snakes, like, I really don't want to do this. And he runs out with 2 big handfuls of snakes. But like, whenever I'm avoiding, and he's like, and he just passes out. Whenever I'm avoiding a task, and this is again my friend Angel that pointed this out, he's like, I'm like Pee-wee running by that tank of snakes over and over, doing everything I can to avoid having to touch the snakes. And I like snakes personally, but I understand Pee-wee's,
that's a good.
But that like whole like,
it's like
Home Alone, new Home Alone
definitely didn't want to watch this movie, and it just like, it's that choice you make. You kind of, it's like that. I'm gonna make him another movie reference. It's in Forgetting Sarah Marshall when Jonah Hill's trying to get Russell Brand to listen to his
demo tape,
and he finally like asked him about it, and Russell Brand's like, oh yeah, I was going to listen to that, but I just actually just carried on living my life. It's just like such a cold-hearted, but that's like kind of what happened, right? Like we were like, we were all hyped, like, yeah, we're gonna compare it, and we're gonna, and literally like just didn't do it.
There's absolutely nothing appealing about, like, I remember we saw the
like watched other movies. Like, it's not like we didn't have time to watch a movie. No, we watched other movies.
I had time. I was completely available to watch that movie. I decided not to. I actively decided not to watch it. My kid, when we saw the trailer for that, even my kids are like, man, that look trash, man. Like, my kids are like, my son is like 8, and he was like, nah, like it just didn't look. And I was like, who's this for? Like,
unfortunately, no. My son's actually, maybe, I don't know, a few weeks ago now, actually did turn it on, and they had it on. I was doing something else in the front of the house, and I was like, you guys are watching the new Home Alone movie?
Made that face.
Like judging him.
Man, yeah, your taste is trash. But there were a couple of little, just for anybody who has seen it, like a little funny, like the kid who plays, and I said this to you guys, the kid, or in a text, the kid that plays, like, there's the main character, he's English. Like, it's an English kid, and for some reason, I don't know if it's
that kid was in it's the Hitler movie with the Taika
Oh,
Waititi.
Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, Jojo Rabbit.
Oh,
He's in
okay.
Jojo Rabbit. Yeah.
But I found him rather charming, and his sort of delivery and his just sort of manner reminded me, like he reminded me of like a little baby Ricky Gervais, like the way he sort of spoke and delivered his little smartass, like sort of smartass, understated smartass, lines and stuff.
Got you.
It was
I mean,
charming, yeah.
that
But
kind of works,
otherwise,
I guess.
yeah, I walked in a few other times, like during the what's her face, the couple. I can't even think of anybody's actors' names right now, but I was just like, I don't know what the point of this is. I think that tonally it was weird. I think if they had sort of stuck with that like little snarky tone, it might have worked better. But then it got heartwarming at the end, and I was like, oh, this feels just felt.
Which I mean, and to be fair, like Home Alone the original Home Alone does that, but it just doesn't.
But there's no snark in Home Alone. It's not snark.
Yeah,
there's no snark.
Yeah.
And this movie had tons of snark, and then it was like, oh,
Then it tried to
heartwarming.
be like, oh, but I'm still a Christmas movie.
And I was trying to figure out if I was supposed to feel like that was snarky too, but I couldn't. And so it was just like a tonally weird and off to me. So,
it's one of those premises that feels very much like a early 90s premise for a movie. Like it doesn't feel, I don't feel like it lends itself well to like modern day sensibility.
It doesn't hold up
like,
in that sense.
It's just the original one is classic. Like I watch it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I probably have watched it like 5 times already this year, just because it's always on. And I mean, when it comes on, I can't help but watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's good, but it works perfectly in the time that it was created. Like I know
it's just the right amount of like risky for kids type, like it's a good one to like your kids feel like they're watching something, like semi like adultish, because there's a little bit of cursing and there's like violence that's a little bit more realistic than what they're used to.
And it's funny, like it actually like a lot of the gags in Joe Pesci and oh my god,
Daniel Stern,
their reactions are so classic,
fantastic.
Daniel
Stern steals it for me.
Oh like, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
he kills that.
I mean, he's a clown. It's clownish, and it was just like I said, like totally in the comedy.
I just think about his face and like I start laughing like just his whole like
Oh, and his screams are the best.
Oh yeah,
on like just like not even gonna try to sound like a man as I scream.
He saves the second one. Like the second one, like maybe it's a hot take, but the second Home Alone movie is not that good. I mean, it's what it is. It's there's two things that make that save it. It's Daniel Stern's reactions to things, and it's Tim Curry being like, peak Tim Curry.
a snooty like English douche, which is
like
a
hotel. Yeah, like the whole
Yeah, like I don't know. I know Chance the Rapper was like talking about doing like a reboot of that. Like
of Home Alone.
Trying to like he was recently he was like trying to reboot it and but of course do the Black Home Alone, which okay, fine. I mean, I guess like I don't know.
I
don't know. Like, but he was talking about like he was trying to pitch that to somebody. I don't know if they like are green lighting that. Probably not, but
they might.
Like he was trying to do like the Black version of Home Alone, which I don't know. Like I said, I don't even feel like that works in this era, really.
Closest thing to that was People Under the Stairs.
I love that movie, man.
We talked about that in our conversation about that, was how like it was not too far from Home Alone in terms of when it came out, and there's like some weird little kind of parallels in the way that like the
slapstick on it,
but that's one that, as much as I love that original one, that's one that I wouldn't be mad if the right person, the right people got a hold of that and was like, hey, we talked about that, I think. And
Jordan Peele, I think we were talking about doing it.
Yeah, like
gotta hit the right notes. Like it's not about casting, it's not about like the ways in which you make it now Black or whatever.
Yeah.
It has to do with like hitting the right emotional note.
Yeah.
Because you can't do Home Alone again the same way it was done. There has to be a different feeling to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but apparently no one else does either. So
They've made
because you
several
can't-
sequels and
Yeah, because it's a classic and it's hard
Yeah.
to whenever something is classic, like just stay away from it. I don't know why everybody like wants to gravitate to trying to redo
because
classics.
I mean, it's true. Like
I know it's a
money.
cash grab.
Yeah,
it's a cash grab. But it's like, yo, you're not gonna ever top this. You're just not. Like it was just lightning in a bottle, man. I don't know why that worked so well. It's kind of a ridiculous premise. There's all types of stuff that like this shouldn't work, and this shouldn't work, but it just does. I don't know. It just, it just has that magic for that,
Okay,
whatever that means, that quote unquote magic that, certain movies have.
Dog's starting up. Just a warning.
Starting to get, getting ready. Yeah.
chocolate coming.
Sorry. Here comes Choco.
I mean, I guess that's why, there's no need to, like, to me, here's the thing. And there's people who got like up in arms and upset about this new sequel and being like, why are they messing with it? Blah, blah, blah. People don't realize there's been like 4 Home Alone sequels already. Like this is not
ones.
This isn't offensive because they've been doing it ever since the second one. Like they've made more and more and to decreasing quality for the most part. Like Scarlett Johansson was in the third one.
Yeah, in that third one. Yeah, randomly. Yeah, she's
young,
like the sister.
Yeah, she's like.
I don't think I ever saw that one, or it was just like I don't want to watch this kid.
It's not good.
Yeah, please go back and watch that.
See that bowl cut kid? There was like a bowl cut kid with a bowl cut that was
the third one.
Oh no,
bowl cut kid's the third one. Fourth one's a weird one where the kid is supposed to be Kevin, but it's a different actor.
What, really?
The kid's supposed to be Kevin. The dad's divorced from the mom. And like there's like one of the robbers is the guy from Third Rock from the Sun, the squinty-eyed guy. Yes, and he's supposed to be Marv. He's playing Marv in the movie.
What?
But he's dressed like Harry, like he has a skull cap on. It's weird. Like it looks like they didn't know. It's almost like they read the original Home Alone and they didn't watch it. It's like why is he, for one, this guy doesn't look like either of them, but he's playing one of them for some reason.
No.
And he's the wrong, like he's got the wrong
guy. Almost gotta watch
it's like
just to see that.
It's Marv and his girlfriend are trying to rob Kevin.
It's like the swap meet version of Home Alone. Like when my son
it's
got this
great value Home Alone.
He got this big like transformer. I think they were called like transmuters instead of transformers or something like that. Or like there's like some weird fucking like in the same typeface that the Transformers, just ridiculous.
Gotta get your transmuters.
It was something like that where I was like, "Are you serious?"
Those are the cheap ones. Like I think like my son, like his grandmother, like bought him one. It was like one of them like bootleg ones where bootleg. Like he transformed, like the transformation, sorry as hell. Like the only thing that changed is like his shoulder, like one thing on his shoulder changed. And it's pretty much like, fam, this is not a disguise. Like it's the same dude. Like he just
the old Happy Meal.
The old Happy Meal
toys were better than that.
Nuggets.
Yeah, those were cool.
The one thing.
Right.
Oh, it's different now.
Nah, that one he had didn't change nothing. Like I guess he changed his mind or something. I don't know. He looked exactly the same. No,
he has an internal character arc.
Right.
When you push the button. He's actually a villain now. Like, all right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Like we decided, in our household, we were gonna. I even mentioned it to my wife. I was like, we got to watch the new Home Alone before next Tuesday. And she was like, okay. And we just, nobody brought it up. Nobody brought it up. I feel like they were all, I feel like they were all like, oh, Dad forgets. I don't want to watch that movie. We ended up watching, so we decided we were going to rewatch all the Spider-Man movies up until the new one comes
instead
out.
of watching like the movie for the show,
one movie.
We're going to rewatch movies that we've
already seen. I was like, we watched Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, which for the record, I haven't watched in a while. is pretty great. Like, especially for kids, like it's like a really good, especially since with these the Tom Holland ones, they didn't do his origin. Like, my youngest son was like completely into it because he thought it was cool getting to see him like learn everything and become Spider-Man. And I was like, man, he's actually like this one, and I think the second one's still one of my favorite superhero movies. These hold up pretty well. Like they're 20 years old and they feel like, I mean, yeah, the CGI is like there's a little rubber Toby jumping from building to building in a couple scenes, but the look and feel, it's fun. It feels like, it feels like a comic book come to life, which is kind of nice. Just that's a sidebar.
I remember
And
being in love with that first one, like when it came out. Like,
yeah, it was good.
I was like primed for that. Like that was the audience. Like that was for me. Like the first one. Like I like this. I don't have like people have like a strong affinity for the second one. I don't. I like it. Like fine, but I don't know. Like I still think that first one was the one for me that just kind of got me.
Who's the villain in the second one?
Dr. Octopus.
Dr. Octopus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I loved that second. I still do. Like we rewatched that earlier this year, and I think it's because
I haven't seen those for so long.
I think it's just because it does such a good job of like connecting you with Peter Parker's like the everything that he's juggling, and the fact that he just does not want this. Like he's got all these scenes where he's like, you just feel for him because it's like I'm on my way to the play and she's gonna be really happy when I go to the play, and then all this guy's getting robbed and like like just everything's a little bit messy and disastrous, and I like that. Like I like when Spider-Man is kind of like a little bit behind the ball all the time because I just feel like that fits. It feels more human. Like that's what it would be like. Like your personal life would be a mess if you was a superhero. Like when people are asking like, where you go all the time? Why are you late to everything? And he's just like, I can't tell you. And it's like, okay, like I love that aspect of it. And it's got some really good the action scenes still hold.
The action is solid in that one. Like that's probably.
Yeah.
Well, aside from that, I really like that last fight in the first one. Like
that last fight in the first one.
Last fight is dark. Like it's rough. But those two still hold up. That third one though.
Third one kind of got crazy.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
I don't think I ever saw it. Honestly,
the third one. So that's the one with
what's his face? Topher Grace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I never saw it.
The third one is half of a good, like a good sequel to the first two, and half like we trying to go crazy. Like it's got like the Sandman stuff is pretty cool just because it's like a fun kind of villain. But then it gets wrapped up in this whole Venom symbiote stuff, and like
that stuff
it's just it was not handled well, and it's come out that Sam Raimi did not want to do that. That they were kind of trying to force this Venom thing into the movie. His original vision, I guess, was to have it be like a cliffhanger, and he was going to have Spider-Man get the symbiote, like become kind of, addicted to it, fight the Sandman, almost kill the Sandman, get rid of the symbiote, and then sort of realize how he needed it, handle the Sandman was different. And they were going to end it like there with some kind of cliffhanger, and then have Venom show up in the next movie. And the studio was like, nah, you got to get Venom. Everybody wants to see Venom. And so they brought in Venom.
Which is true, but the way that y'all, not like that.
Cramming him in there. And Sam Raimi was being stubborn. He was like, nah, I'm still doing the story I want to do. I put y'all's in there, but I'm not changing. So it's like, you end up with, this man. Why is the third, like, what? The Spider-Man movies have this struggle. So that one was suffered from too much going on. The second Andrew Garfield movie also had a similar situation. There were like 3 villains or 2 or 3 villains. And then like this new one that's about to come out, I'm worried because there's like gonna be like 6 villains.
Is there any trilogy where the third one is like the best one?
The best?
I feel like when you get to the third, it's like the third verse in a rap song. It's like, all right, what are we doing now? Like,
Just end the song.
just
Yeah.
stop. Yeah. The first verse we was like, okay,
Ooh, that's a good question,
we get the
actually.
gist, we get the gist of the song. Like second
is,
verse, like okay, he's expounding a little bit more. And the third verse is just like, all right, you just rap.
oh, you just felt the need to write
you
this.
just saying stuff, yeah.
So are there, like, even outside of the superhero genre, like, are there any really, like, not just passable, or not just, because I think about like Lord of the Rings. I feel like the third movie, I really like the third movie, but I wouldn't call it my favorite of the trilogy.
Me either.
My
favorite's Two Towers.
That's yeah.
I think that's pretty.
I'm a Fellowship guy.
Are you? I love the Fellowship, but Two Towers. I love Battle of Helm's Deep. It's my favorite thing in the whole.
I do love Battle of Helm's Deep. How about you, Miles? What's your favorite Lord of the Rings
movie? I'm right now. Like,
thought he was gonna go off camera.
So Tawny, like I finally started watching Game of Thrones. Like,
oh shit.
I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go. Like, I didn't put this off long enough in my life. So here we go. I like the first season. I'm struggling though. I'm getting into the second season, and it's getting rough. Like
the Five Kings.
We only watched like the first maybe episode and a half, and we're both looking like, I don't know, man. Like it's starting to set in.
Wait, in terms of like just not enjoying it, or just being stressed out.
Like, so I legitimately dug the first season. I was like, oh, this is good. Like, I like this. Wasn't blown away by it, but I was like, I like this. The way we were both like apathetic by the end. I was like, I could not watch this again and be fine. Like, I'm not super hype. Like, oh man, I gotta know where this is. I'm like, I'm into it. I was into it. Like, I'm like, this is good. Like, I like the characters. I like this. And I was telling Chris, like, some of it is kind of ruined because I know some stuff about Game of Thrones. So maybe the shock of certain things don't hit like they could hit, just because it's been around. I've heard people talk about it. But overall, I'm like, this is really solid. I love the politics and the
that's really the fun part for me. Like, I think that's the most fascinating part.
But we powered through that first season, and then we got to the second season. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of exhausted with this stuff now. Like, I don't like. I told you, I don't like medieval. It just seemed like a whack ass period in life. Me and my wife were sitting there watching it the whole time, and we were like, okay, we get to the next episode, and something would happen. Like, it'd be like riding some horses or jousting or something, and we would both turn like, yo, like this is such a whack period of time. It's not tight to me at all. It's just not cool to me. I don't know. Like, I look at it and I'm like, the wigs and the pageantry of it all, it just looks stupid to me. Like, I don't know. So we every 5 minutes we would be like, you saw that? Like, like something we would be like,
Miles and Brittany over here like, hey, look at him over here riding his horse.
Let me ask you though, because for me, like, and I've said this before on the show for sure, like, character is so important.
Yeah.
Do you have favorite characters, like characters you really enjoy that you look forward to seeing?
Yeah, I really dig. So far, well, I liked Ned, like, just because of the dynamic. But I like him. I like Jon Snow. There's some like terrible people that I like because they're terrible. Like, I'm like, oh, I want to see him get. I can't stand his ass. But yeah, I didn't dislike it at all. I actually dug it. I thought it was dope. I just so much of it, I got exhausted by the end because we powered through the whole first season real quick, and I was like, all right, that's enough medieval. Let me take a break for a couple of days because I don't know. It's just not. I don't know.
A lot to take in too. Like, it's just like a lot.
And I was confused initially because I was like, who is that? It was a bunch of names of this person and that person that's off screen that I've never seen.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know who that is. I don't know who they talking about. Like, I don't know.
That's
I couldn't tell what anybody's like what they were trying to do
that can
initially.
be
Like the
confusing.
scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that same experience. You know, I do remember having a little bit of a lag between the first and second, or at some point like earlier in the series where we actually kind of stopped and then got back into it.
Mhm.
And I think part of it is like, one is that you connect with Ned, or at least for me, and he feels like the protagonist of the first season. And so
Yeah.
after his
Yeah.
death, I remember there was like a searching period where I'm like, okay, who's my guy now, and who's my person, or
Yeah.
who am I, and like, because Daenerys is way on the other side of having her whole storyline separate. You've got John is kind of in a similar situation, and then the actual main crux of the show is in this war that's kind of brewing. And it's like, I remember being like, okay, like, I guess I know whose side I'm on, but I'm not latching on to anybody just yet. But I want to say, like, maybe halfway in the second season, you might be surprised. I know at some point you start to get surprised at which characters you kind of start to latch on to. At least I did. I remember there's at least one character I remember that I hated, that I grew to like see as one of my favorite characters, like in a good way, like legit wanted this person to win. And
Yeah.
I think Tawny knows who I'm talking about. But
There's a couple of people that I
Yeah.
dug. I mean, I love Peter Dinklage. Like, I just like him in anything.
Oh
pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
he's his favorite.
like,
Like
he's
just a
easy
solid-
to. Yeah. He's just
Well,
killing
he's
it.
like
So,
he's sort of like the I don't know, like the avatar for, and George R. R. Martin has said this. That's like the character that most closely represents himself
mhm.
in the storytelling, like his
Yeah,
point of
he's great.
view. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I really dig him. I actually weirdly like I don't know, I can't remember his name, but he's like um the dude who was like cool with Ned's wife. He's like so shiesty, like
Oh,
he
Littlefinger.
Littlefinger, yeah. I don't
Fantastic
know why I
character.
like him.
Fantastic character.
He's a chess player. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like him. Like he's not good, but I like how
Tommy
he's
Carcetti.
Oh yeah. Well,
Oh,
he didn't watch Have you watched The Wire?
you haven't watched The Wire?
I've seen not all of The Wire.
Okay.
I've seen
Yeah.
chunks of The Wire. Yeah.
He's on there. He's Tommy Carcetti. Yeah.
A triangulating politician.
Yeah. But I mean, we went way the hell off. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't think of any like
third movie.
Like a third movie is
coming back to the question.
It's like the movie. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I
don't even think that exists, especially if it was like, because assuming like when you've done 3 movies, we're assuming that the first movie was probably pretty good.
Well,
enough for them to make 2. And then
I mean,
they
only
pretty much get worse.
I have an answer. I don't know if it counts given the context, but I think Thor Ragnarok is the best Thor movie.
Yeah, it is. I agree with that.
Now it's tough because the only reason that there's a caveat is that it's like part of this. Like, it's hard to call any Marvel movie like the third of a trilogy because there's so many other movies that kind of inform it, like that aren't, like Thor, who he is by the time the third movie comes around, is so evolved from where he was in the first one. And some of that evolution happened in movies that weren't part of that trilogy. So I'm always like, it's a little bit of it's got an asterisk, but I would say that's the best of the Thor movies. So there's that.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like, I don't know. In that case, I don't know. I won't say it's the best movie, but I like Civil War.
I don't think it's better than Winter Soldier, though.
Well, it's definitely not better, but just it's good though. Like, my point is there even any good?
Oh, a good third movie?
Like,
I think there's some good ones.
I'm sorry. I know everybody talks
Harry
shit
Potter.
on Return of the Jedi. Oh, Harry Potter. The third's my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My favorite book, and actually the movie.
Oh yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah, that's probably
the
one.
That one is the one that I was like, oh, okay, this is because them first 2, I was like, this is not it, y'all.
They were kids.
What are y'all talking about?
They were more like kids movies.
They were too squeaky clean. Like I read a review that was like there wasn't enough dirt on Hogwarts.
I mean, it was Chris Columbus. Yeah, it's like,
But I was gonna say,
Wholesome kids movies.
I'm a lifelong fan of Return of the Jedi. It's the first Star Wars
Oh, I
movie
love Return of the
that
Jedi.
I
Yeah.
saw, and I still love it. And I know everyone's like, "Oh, the
It's
Ewoks ruin." I don't care. I enjoy the
I,
shit out of the
See,
Sarlacc scene.
see, I'm gonna let y'all have that. I'm gonna let y'all live. I'm
listen,
gonna let y'all
Return of
have
the
that.
Jedi. Okay, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite in the original trilogy,
No.
but uh no, like there's so much like there's the whole throne room scene with
Yeah.
Emperor and Luke is so
Mm-hmm.
cool, and like that Jabba's palace, the barge stuff
Mm-hmm.
is good. The like speeder bikes, I always like Luke's cutting the nose off the speeder bike, and the dude like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of cool stuff in Return of the Jedi. Like it's not, yeah, like I would say it doesn't fit the argument of the third movie being the best. Like if, but it's like, yeah,
No,
that's
but
a,
I
it's
enjoy.
definitely look and go off of all the Star Wars movies that have been released.
It's definitely
Return of
not
the
the
Jedi
worst.
is
Yeah,
up there now.
it is. It is. The first three are up there just because a lot
Yeah.
of what came after that was not so great. So I mean, yeah, that one is. Well, I mean, you could argue that out of the prequels, the third one might be the best one
It
out of
is,
those.
in my opinion, it
Yeah.
is.
I
Yeah,
think it is.
yeah.
It's out
Some
of the. I
people
mean, that's
think.
not saying a lot, but you know,
I mean, some people. So my Star
not
Wars
a
ranking
not a
is
high bar.
probably my Star Wars ranking is probably Empire, Star Wars, um, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Last Jedi, Force Awakens. No, wait, Force
I
Awakens, Last
like Force
Jedi.
Awakens is higher for me. For
Force Awakens might be in the top three for me, to be
yeah.
honest with you.
I
It's
don't
better than
understand.
Return of the Jedi. It's
It
better
is
than
Return
Return,
of the Jedi. Look, Force
but it's
Awakens,
also better. This is a better crafted film. Like it's better.
sure,
It's better put together, man.
but they had practice before. It's like if I watched. To me, Force Awakens is like if I watched. Let's say I watched Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and then I made a Batman movie, and I took all the stuff I thought was dope about those three movies, and put it into a movie, and like finessed it. It's like, yes, it's like great. It's better crafted, but it had a blueprint that was so like defined, and it borrows so much from those other things that I could never like if it had existed in a vacuum, it would be, or if it, you know what I mean? Like
I
I
mean,
just feel
but
like
it's
it's so
borrowing from
informed.
itself, though. I ain't got nothing against that. It's not like it's stealing from something that's not its own thing. It's derivative of itself.
But it's
It's
the same
creating.
story. It's so
It's cold.
it's
It's better at it. Just do it better, man.
I disagree.
They
I
do it better,
disagree.
man. Like it's
Like
listen, it's
what
okay,
is
man.
what like okay, like Ray is like this undefined character. And I like
Oh
the Force
man,
Awakens. Let me,
don't start
don't get me
going in
wrong.
on Ray, man.
No, I'm not going in on Ray. What I'm
sure.
saying is Ray is very similar to Luke. And like
Yeah,
I just feel like
I think she is outwardly like I think she's like obviously that's purposeful, right? Like she lives on a
it
desert
is.
planet, but she's a much different character.
yeah.
She's a lot
Listen,
Yeah.
more
I'm not saying it's different. I just
Ray
said
is
it was
um
better.
Ray is
It,
not like I feel like Luke's like, I want to join the rebellion, but you feel like a lot of
Yeah.
that has to do with his own sort of, aspirations of glory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ray is like, I think Ray is like a caring person. Like we see her be caring. She takes care of BB-8. Like she
Right.
doesn't have to, she like takes care of him. There's a warmth to her that Luke in Star Wars or New Hope, I should say, I guess, isn't there. I think she's a much more evolved hero of the hero's journey than Luke was. Or
I
Right.
maybe
She
think
like
starts off in a better
the
place than he is, like in
maybe
terms of
maybe it's more like she's just more
the plot.
contemporary,
Yeah, the plot is similar, but the characters are not exactly the same.
no, it's not a one-to-one, but
It's
like
I listen, I'm not saying it's original. It's not original. It's pretty much a remake
It's
of the
not
first.
original. That's
It's
the whole
not
point.
original, but it's
It's
not
the
even. It
right.
doesn't
hero's
have to be.
journey.
Yeah, it doesn't.
True,
I
but
mean, Star Wars is not a original. If that's the
right,
case, if we're
right.
talking about it being, that that hero's journey, there's some originality in there. Obviously, of course, there was nothing like Star Wars before it, but yeah, I think like for me, Force Awakens is up there. It's a well crafted movie, man. It's fun. It
It
got
is. I
it's the
agree.
moments where you got the feels like, hey, yo,
It's, I
it's what you
mean, it's a
want. The
well-crafted,
ending is
yes, it's a
dope, man. You
well-crafted
get the
movie.
Luke moment at
I
the end
just,
with the lightsaber. Come
I
on,
just,
man. You felt that.
sure, yes,
You
that's
felt that.
good. But man, like, and I again, I like The Force Awakens. I just feel like there's so much that the iconography is so similar. And I think back and I'm like, what, like where did the First Order come from? Like, why? Like, I guess when I by the end of that movie, I was hopeful for what was ahead. So I think it did its job, right? But I also think it was semi apologizing for like the prequels. You know what I mean? Like it was like, look, we're back on track. And it's like you could do that without starting your hero on a desert planet, having like a lot of these kind of the blow up the big Death Star thing. Like there's so many things about it that I feel like work, but they work because like it's like an upgraded version of something we've seen in the Star Wars universe. Like I think the hero's journey thing, even if they repeated the hero's journey, I think that's fine. I just wish they had done more things that were like have Ray start out on a water plane. I don't know, like like do something like
That
just
was
give
the
Be
me
a
best.
waterbender.
something.
That was the key.
Give me something that doesn't like trigger my like. I'm like it's there's something about it that just makes me every
See,
time I
but
think
that's
about
coming
watching The
from a
Force
Star Wars
Awakens.
fan,
I
though. That's coming from somebody that's a Star Wars, like
true, yeah.
inundated deep into the. Because regular people that just went to see that movie that maybe aren't deeply entrenched in like all the Star Wars lore, they don't care like if she started on a different planet. That's not a significant development for them. It's just like,
Yeah.
can I go along with this character or not? And I think they did well with creating characters. They gave us Kylo Ren, which is one of the illest characters to ever be in Star Wars to me, period. Like,
Yeah, I
and I
like Kylo
mean,
Ren.
he's a great character. I
I
mean,
like all
they developed
I like
more.
all
I
four
like
of the
all of
major
the
new characters
yeah,
in that
100%.
first movie.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
here's like
agreed. Yeah, agreed.
where I think his legacy would have been more cemented. Like it would have been better served by a sense, like if they knew what the arc was going to be ahead of, like I feel
It
like
does help to know what
Yeah,
it tarnishes the first movie that like it
yeah,
it
could have been
does.
like, look, it's very similar, but now like throughout the rest of the movies, we're going to show you how it's different now, or maybe
Yeah, well,
and it just
now that
didn't. I know
yeah.
they tried, like there was no cohesive vision for that trilogy, and it does a disservice to the first movie, which is very strong.
That
You
makes me
know,
almost agree with you, Chris. Like,
yeah.
sort of like what you just said, Tony. Like retroactively, the sequels to Force Awakens were so kind of wishy-washy and just all over the place
It
that
tainted it.
it kind of hurt how much I enjoyed the first movie to where it makes me be like, damn, this is such a satisfying start. Because if it would have went up from there, then
mhm.
the first movie would have been really good. Because it's like you can give them
Yeah.
the first one of them being like, okay, listen, let's just establish this. We're gonna do some stuff that's familiar. It's
Right.
Star Wars. It's like most franchises. When you watch a Rocky movie, you know how that's gonna go. It's gonna be a montage in there. He's gonna
Yeah.
lose first. He's gonna
Yeah.
Yeah.
train and come back.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
Star Wars movies are. We know they're gonna blow up some big ball at the end. We
Right.
know they're gonna use Star Wars. We know how Star Wars movies. That's how Star Wars movies go. Like, come on, man.
And that's
Like,
the thing, and they were aware. Like Han Solo even says, like,
Yeah.
"How we blow it up? That's what we do, right?" Like it's like that's the thing. But
that's the
you know,
formula. Yeah.
and actually, like I said, I've said it a million times. I like The Last Jedi. What I don't like is like the best part of The Last Jedi to me is Rey and Kylo Ren, and to some extent Luke. But what they did with Finn, what they did with Poe, these great characters who they set up in the first movie, they just clearly didn't know what they're like. Yeah, these guys are cool, and that was it.
Mhm.
And you got a guy who starts off as a stormtrooper. Like, there's so much you could do with that. There's so much interesting kind of dichotomies. How many friends does he have that he's now fighting against? Like, and they just kind of, you know. And so I think that is part of it. It's the Game of Thrones thing. Like the way it ends informs how I see the whole thing. And I think that's part of it too. Because I like I said, like I think Force Awakens probably would rank higher for me if what came after it kind of justified some of the choices. Like that's the other thing. Like I think when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, there is a lot in there that's kind of familiar, but you know what, there's probably like, you know, what is it leading into? Who knows? Like there was so much mystery when it was over.
But here's the potential to flip things in a really interesting way, you know, to subvert, to flip, to do something totally, you know, interesting and new. And it just like, it kind of sort of happened a little bit, but like it
they
wasn't,
pulled some threads in The Last Jedi that then they kind of, it was like, if they have just followed through and said like, look, because The Last Jedi made some choices, like they were like, yeah, Kylo Ren is the villain, and they just ran, they went right at that idea, because they had this whole thing with him and Rey and had him make they had both of them had to make a choice, and they made their choice. And then they come back in the next one like, nah, but yeah, like, but he's still conflicted though. I'm like, is he though? Like he killed his own father. he killed his master. He tried to kill Luke. Like he's like, and then you just, yeah, I don't even want to talk about that last movie, but it was just like,
we don't need to discuss that. Oh wait, so Tawny, is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? That's the third movie of, right? Or no?
No. Well,
dollars,
yes,
full of dollars trilogy. Oh, that's okay.
But it's the movie in which he gets that poncho. So if you're like it's like the Indiana Jones movies, where that one chronologically with the other ones is the first one, but it's the last one filmed. Yeah, it was the last one made.
Oh, so we had a comment. Yeah, somebody said Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's a
there you
one.
go. Yeah. There you go.
That's why I was like,
well done.
I was thinking like, I know there's two other ones like before. I didn't know if that was like
Fistful of Dollars and a Few Dollars More. I watched them all one weekend. I was like, I'm gonna watch these fucking movies, all of the dollars movies.
Such a like weirdly specific like goal, like,
but not knowing much, like not knowing much about the genre at all, other than what Quentin Tarantino has taught me.
I haven't seen the other two, but Good, Bad, and Ugly.
They're not as good. They're just not as good. I mean, they're not. They're worth seeing.
Ed Greer made an argument for one of the other ones being better, and on one of his on his podcasts, they were talking about westerns, and he said like something about, he's like, everybody says Good, Bad, and the Ugly, but you know. Oh no, Ed is like Mr. Hot Take.
I can't even remember. I kind of can't remember which one's which. Like they're sort of really similar. And then Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was the standout. And that was just me going into it without any idea or expectation, was like, this one's clearly the one.
I'm not a Western. That's an excellent movie, because Good, Bad, and the Ugly was fire, bro. Like that is excellent. Logan, that's another one, with a third one, the trilogy of.
I didn't see Logan.
That's another one that's a little bit, you know, there's an asterisk, but yeah, I agree, because like it's so disconnected from the other two, and it's like his seventh time playing Wolverine. So like,
it's the same thing with Thor though. It's like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like there's the asterisk for those, like where you got like.
But it is the best one though.
It for sure, by far.
Easily.
I like the Wolverine until it gets to the last like 20 minutes.
Yeah, the last,
he just fights a giant metal samurai. But have you seen the Wolverine movies, Tawny?
I've seen the Wolverine, and then is that the first one?
No, the first one is X-Men Origins. That's when he becomes Wolverine, and he like
gets the jacket and all the other memorabilia.
I know I saw the Wolverine, and I never saw
he gets the jacket.
They had to throw that in there.
That's so stupid. Like I hate, like that's the kind of stuff I don't like. Like when you do a prequel and you decide that the thing about it is like that's how they got this. Oh look, that's how they got that shirt. Like it's like I don't care.
But, I care.
Solo did do that, yeah.
Solo was doing that heavy. Like, yo, this is.
I kind of like Solo, but
I did like Solo.
I enjoyed Solo. I enjoyed it for sure.
I liked it, but there was some goofy, like,
unnecessary stuff. Like, how did he get that? Like, all right, come on, man. Like, yo, I don't care about that.
You know what's weird is that these newer movies have focused weirdly on the dice. from the Millennium Falcon? Like
It
they
wasn't
did
even
it
like a
in
big thing. Yeah.
right. It's like that's kind of an example to me of like you take a small little prop that was just there in the original movie, and you're like, here's the story behind it. It's like, mhm. Like one, like who, there's plenty of people who probably didn't even notice there were dice in there. And
Right.
so when it showed up in The Last Jedi, I feel like some people were like, what is that again? Like, what's she holding? Like, so yeah, the story behind props is a weird prequel thing. But
Yeah.
no, I like
Obviously, it is the Dark Knight trilogy. You know what? I really loved, what's his name? The third one. When it first came out, I
Dark
was
Knight
super.
Rises.
I'm not as high on it now. Like
I really like that one too. Yeah.
I like that one still. It's a messy movie in some ways. It's messier definitely than the other ones, but I think it still works.
He made some bold choices, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that. I
it's
mean, to
not the
have
best one, but I think it's still successful.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
To have a Batman movie where Batman doesn't show up until like 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, but it's earned though. Like
It's
I
earned.
feel when
It's
he
such
comes
an epic
back,
moment when he
yeah, it's
shows
so
up.
epic. Yeah, it is. It's fire. And it
Um,
also has one of the worst Batman scenes ever. But yeah,
which one are you talking about?
when he's uh when he comes back and they're like fighting in the city and he's like asking him where the trigger is.
Oh
and
yeah.
he's
Where's the trigger?
I haven't
It's
seen those
like-
in a long time.
You haven't seen? Oh, you haven't seen them in a while.
A long
Oh,
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are
Sorry.
fun movies. Yeah.
Like, I don't have much to contribute here.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, Batman.
Yeah, those are good though.
Oh man.
Also the what's his name? The apes, the new apes trilogy. I don't know if
I
I
haven't
really
seen
dug
those at
those.
all, actually.
Really? Oh,
No.
yo,
Wait,
watch 'em.
I thought the only thing I ever saw was that Tim Burton one.
Nah,
That's
yo,
not connected to these. Okay, that's not connected to these at all, right? Okay.
Nah,
God,
yo,
no.
we're not talking. Yo, we can't talk about that. Yo, you know what? So I one day
We don't talk about that.
I binged all of. I've always loved apes. I don't know. I've loved the apes franchise. It's
Yeah.
not great,
Right.
but I've always just been into it. Even the first movie is the greatest thing ever. Like, but I just like it. I don't know.
I love it too, the original movie.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
binged
like that
all of them one day. Like all the
I
Beneath
did
the
too.
Planet
I did that once too.
Conquest Battle. I binged all of them. It gets weird, especially in
It
that
gets
second
really
one.
weird.
think
I
I
like the one
Beneath
that
the
takes
Planet.
place. I like the
Yeah.
one that's kind of, is it the third one where it takes place kind of
Escape.
during the modern, like
We're talking about when they leave there and they go,
Yeah.
Zira and Cornelius go like to like our time, basically.
yes.
Yeah, I like that one. That one is dark, like at the end.
I like that one.
But yeah, like I think that's the new ones. You should watch those, like Tawny. Those they did a pretty good job. Like
The new
with
ones?
the story.
Yeah.
I know,
they're pretty good.
and people talk about them, and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely interested because I always liked the original. I've watched the original movie a bunch of times. I think I've shown it in class a couple of times too. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I never just got around to them. What's the order for the new one?
So
it's weird.
It's Rise. So it's Rise of the titles are atrocious. So it's Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is really good to me. And then War for the Planet of the Apes, which
Rise,
I also
Dawn,
dug.
and War. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are
I'm gonna
good.
do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that for sure.
They get progressively more the themes get progressively more interesting, I think, because the first one feels more accessible, just like, as a fun
popcorn
kind of
movie.
Yeah. And then the second two are where you start to get into like what it means to be human and like the nature of man and war and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, all right, blockbuster movie, look at you. And the third one was divisive, I think, for that reason, because it just got super like subversive. But I liked the subversion in it. Not just I won't say any more than that, but like, yeah, those are good.
Oh, hey, third movie, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh
good
yeah,
one.
that's the best one.
Yeah, that's a good.
I was just watching that. The other day.
Contrasting with that Halloween third movie, the only one without Michael Myers in it.
Yo, that movie is interesting. Like I'll like watch that. It's a ridiculous premise, obviously,
the season of the
but
witch.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there's something about it that I like for some reason.
There's always something like that. I
Yeah,
watched hours of trash just because there's something about it I like that I can't possibly name.
It's something weird about that movie that I'm like, there's actually a story here that could work. I feel like
I think it's also
not
just,
exactly how they executed it, but yeah.
if it wasn't a Halloween movie, I feel like it'd be
It wasn't
lost
supposed to be. I think wasn't that the story was that they just had this random script and they developed it.
That's what it looked like. It looked like
They were
had
trying
some
to be like, how do we
script and
get
tried
people to watch it? Let's call it
Yeah.
Halloween 2. And there hadn't been, or Halloween 3.
Yeah.
And they're like, that was like, I think there was an intention to go further with the Halloween franchise at that point. So they just were
Right.
like, let's just tack it on. And
I think they were trying to turn it into an anthology thing, and yeah.
oh, okay. And then okay.
Well, because I think it was so John Carpenter, if I remember correctly, he didn't want to continue the story.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do sequels and stuff to it.
Yeah.
But I think it was Mustafa Akkad that was like the original producer, I think, for that. And they really were the ones that wanted to like continue the Michael thing. I don't think John Carpenter wanted to do that. The idea was to try to turn it into just Halloween being the the day where things happen, or whatever. And obviously, people was just like, "Yo, what Mike at? What we doing?"
Yeah.
It did what it did. But yeah, that one is. I don't hate that one. I don't know. Like there's worse ones to me than that one.
Oh my gosh,
like,
they definitely, yeah. I mean, it got progressively worse. When they Paul Rudd, Tommy Doyle adventures like got
so weird. Did you watch the new one, Tawny? Did you watch Halloween?
I haven't watched any new Halloween movies. I remember seeing H2O in like, what was that, the year 2000?
Yeah.
2000 years
Was that the last one you watched?
No. And then I watched.
I was gonna say, that's, to me, I think we decided that, me and Miles were talking about, like, that's probably the best place to stop.
I think
it is. It feels like
because I used to. Everybody knows, they ran number 4 and number 5 over and over again, like on basic cable. Like
they come on constantly for some reason. Those two
all the time.
There's some weird, there's like a weird rights thing or
so
something.
I've seen those like a bunch of times. Just they were on in the background, and then when H2O came out, I remember being excited to see it, and I think I was just like, I'm not really that interested anymore. I'm sorry, I did watch the Rob Zombie one. And I hate it. I don't like Rob Zombie as the filmmaker. I know lots of horror people feel differently
about him or about that movie.
About the movie, well, not about I think people maybe agree with me on that particular movie. I don't like his movies. I don't like them. I don't enjoy them at all.
He's got a weird he's got a weird infatuation with like trash, trailer trash,
dirty white.
That doesn't even bother me. That doesn't bother me. I just think the writing's bad. Like the dialogue's bad, and that's so distracting.
Oh no, and that's the case in his Halloween movies too. Like,
and I just especially that second one.
Michael Myers needs to be a noiseless, faceless, hulking menace. I don't need him to have a sad backstory, and I don't want it.
And what's interesting is the hulking menace part. There's like some sequences in there where he does that pretty well, like because they got a huge actor to play him. I think that was Tyler Mane, and he was big in that one. But you kind of like, and the thing is, you obviously you see Michael as a kid in the original movie, but you don't get this extended like look into his life that makes him deeply sympathetic and like all this. And
I don't want him to be sympathetic.
And it doesn't make it, it's kind of a cheat too, because of course this kid turns into something bad. Like the worst upbringing. It would be more impactful if he was like a normal kid that came from like like the kid that you would not expect.
What we got in the
to
The
original.
original
right,
movie,
yeah, exactly.
he's like a
Like,
blonde, like flaxen haired little boy that looked like
Right.
yeah,
almost
it's
like,
more
yeah,
it's
it's
more disturbing. It's
disturbing.
like, how does this kid turn into that? Like the kid that now I will say I like the kid that he casted. I think he did a good job.
Oh, the performance, yeah,
The
yeah.
performance was great. I feel like it just didn't make sense because, like, well, of course, this kid grows up to murder a bunch of people. Look at his upbringing; like, it's terrible. Like, I
Right.
mean, this
Which
is,
I think also, and this is just me being like this person, this obnoxious person, but I just feel like it's so reductive to be like abuse children. I mean, and it's true that childhood trauma is like this huge predictor of like all these issues, right? But not necessarily. I mean, like just like, oh, of course, like, like maybe lots of people who grew up with childhood trauma grew up to be extra sympathetic and almost like doormatty. And I just like, I don't know, I feel like it's this really simplistic take on like
He got abused, so now he's a killer.
the
Yeah.
why
stepfather
he
was
decided
mean.
not just a killer, like not just some, like it's not like Michael Myers is some fucking guy who's like an addict who preys on people in the alleyway or who got involved in crime. He's like a brutal like not even a serial killer, he's a monster.
Yeah.
And the idea that, I don't know, I just don't like, I need
Well,
him.
Yeah, it
I
makes
need
him
him
make
to
less
be,
sense.
it doesn't match to me. It's just like that level of the menace that the first movie, just this inexplicable going like killing machine, like, and then it's like, let's explain this inexplicable killing machine, and I don't want it.
Yeah,
I think
because those are
explaining yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say explaining psychopaths is like I guess you're yeah, the whole point is that it's random. It's so like,
Yeah.
it's disturbing because it's like he could just kill you at any moment. And I think that makes it work. And the minute you start trying to add all these layers, it's like, why? Because it's not like he's gonna have an arc, it's not like he's gonna change back.
Yeah.
He's just gonna kill people. Like,
He's
so
gonna be
why?
like Anakin at the end. They're gonna take the mask.
When I think
No.
Sorry, y'all. My bad.
not even a psychopath. Like Ted Bundy was a psychopath. Okay. Like Richard Ramirez is a psychopath. Charles Manson's a psychopath. Michael Myers is a storybook monster.
Yeah. The shape.
He doesn't have there's no pathology. He's a monster that you can't explain. And that's all that's how I
Which,
want.
okay, so I think you'd appreciate that about the newer ones. They lean into that more about him, at least. I think everything else is flawed.
Yeah, I was about to say,
like the first one of these new ones, I thought was pretty good.
I thought that one,
yeah,
and that was cool.
It's like it ignores every movie except the very first one. And so it's this idea that there was just this guy who killed 5 people back in the 70s, got locked up, and has been locked up ever since. That's sort of where it starts. And then the only person who's just constantly been sort of haunted by him is Laurie Strode. And she's kind of in this place of just constantly being worried that this will happen again in some way, or that he'll be back. And she has like deep like trauma, and she's sort of constantly preparing for it. Her family relationships are ruined because she's like always had this mentality. It's really a good setup. And
I like that. And it contemporizes the idea of like what the monster, because he's kind of a blank monster, right? So
they even refer to him as the shape in the new one, which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
I know that was
and so the monster is like whatever, like Laurie's psychology, like it takes the shape of this menacing thing to her. It could be read in this sort of almost symbolic way or this figurative way, and that's interesting, but the idea of like Michael Myers got beat as a kid and now he's a face.
There's no mystery whatsoever.
Like
it doesn't work because you're telling me, like, when you show me that stuff, you're telling me that this is the reason why he is who he is. And that's just not really a great reason. Like, I know plenty of people that grew up like that. They're not just like killing machines Like
killing
the
machine.
less you, the
Yeah, you
less,
don't become
yeah,
a
the less
killing
you,
machine.
yeah, maybe you have problems, yeah, for sure. You got emotional problems, and with in your relationships as an adult, for sure. But I mean, like to turn into a monster because he doesn't talk, he doesn't say anything, he doesn't
Yeah.
like it. Just like
Mhm.
don't tell me anything about that person. Like there's a part in I think like the second Rob Zombie movie where he's like making like
Oh,
too many noises where I'm like, he just doesn't make noise. He doesn't make sound
right.
to me. I don't know. He just doesn't do anything but walk
Yeah.
Yeah.
around slowly and stab people and
Yeah.
kill them.
And you
I don't
can't
want to see him
understand
be
him.
human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to see
Mhm.
him be human at all because it's not a human to me. When he does
Yeah.
human things, it takes me out of it. It
Right.
makes it stupid to me.
He
It's
should feel
already
like a force of nature. Like
Force
there's
of
like
exactly.
nature. Or
it's like
Yeah,
this
supernatural.
thing.
He's
Yeah.
even got supernatural qualities, like in
Yeah.
terms of being able to seemingly be dead over and over again and
Well,
not
I mean, and that's yeah, and they man, I
yeah.
wish these I don't it's like they you had it, right? And then these new ones, it's like Halloween Kills is awful. I
It's
is
just
all
it
over the
okay?
board.
it's
It's a mess.
awful.
I did
It's a
never get
mess.
around to it, and
It's
I'm just like,
awful. I'll
okay.
just say like I just the first one I thought they handled it well. They introduced it in an interesting way, and then Halloween Kills turns into a whole different. It's like they just decided we need stuff to happen because they're making three of these new ones, and so
Mhm.
there's Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends, and it's so obvious that they just needed something to happen between the first one and the third one. It's like just
Mm.
make two movies then. Like I like
Yeah.
because this one feels like such filler. There's so many random things that are almost comedically like it's like why would that that happen? Why are these people acting like this? Why is everybody acting like this? Like it's a weird movie. I
Yeah.
just don't understand. And by the end of it, I remember being like, what? Like, what did I just watch? And then I thought about it later. I was like, oh, I watched like a bridge because like
Okay.
it's very obvious where they're going with
I
it.
can't even. Okay, so there's
Yeah.
I don't I checked out a while ago apparently, but like so Halloween, not the Rob Zombie one.
Right.
What year did that one come out?
78.
No.
Well,
The
2018.
Oh, this new one,
2018.
2018. Yeah. 40
so
years
again, you're
later.
like, oh, the new one. And I'm like, what does that mean anymore? The new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
2018 was this one that's supposed to
Okay.
be, yeah.
And then it's Halloween Kills, and
Right.
then they're coming out with Halloween.
Halloween Ends. Yeah.
And I can guarantee it won't end.
The coolest thing about that,
Yeah, probably not.
the coolest thing about the 2018 one to me,
Okay.
ironically enough, was the score because
Oh.
Yeah, I dug the
John
score.
Carpenter
Yeah.
made some new music, and it he actually gave a theme to sort of the new Laurie character.
Oh, okay.
It was cool. Like that part of it was cool, which makes sense because it's the only part he was involved with. Really seems like, and the rest of it was good too. In terms of like just as a movie, as a standalone movie.
Mm-hmm.
I actually enjoyed it. Yeah, I put it up there among the Halloween movies. Like it's probably pretty high. I mean, because like how can you not like just make a competent movie.
When you said Halloween movies right now, I was vaguely reminded that we were supposed to be talking about holiday movies.
Halloween. Hey, you know what? We did. That's a holiday. All right, so Halloween.
I mean,
What's y'all's number one? Like that's a silly question. What's like a go-to? What's a movie you can't go through Christmas without watching? You know what I mean?
And I've talked about this before. We did a whole episode on it. Gremlins.
Yeah.
Is a
We
big
watched
one.
that again this year. Yeah.
But
I was just watching
also
about that there.
Also not quite, and I've seen debates over this, but a classic Judy Garland. I think it's sort of considered a Christmas movie. For me, it feels like one, but Meet Me in St. Louis is one of my favorite movies, and props to my college roommate. It's a musical. I don't know if it's like an old MGM. It's a Vincent Minnelli. It's the movie where like he sort of fell in love with Judy Garland while making, and like you can see it in the way she's shot, but it's I love it. It's totally right up my alley. My roommate in college introduced it introduced me to it way back when, and it's been a favorite that I revisit like all the time, and especially around the holidays. And it's the structure is that it's like it starts out in it's like summer, fall, winter, spring, and it takes place. It's based on like this series of, I don't know if they were like memoir sort of type short narratives that appeared like in this I'm sorry, I'm messing up all the details, but it's based on just like life in St. Louis. It's supposed to be like a middle class or upper middle class family, and it's taking place around the turn of the century in the World's Fair. And there's like, it's a family with these 4 daughters, and there's all kinds of, it's just fun. Like, you know, there's romance, there's music, there's fun kid stuff in it. And like the movie, the song Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is from that movie.
Oh, wow.
And she sings it in the movie, and it's beautiful. So if you're into that, check it out.
Yeah, I guess mine is pretty basic. I was just gonna say Home Alone. Mine is just so fire. Like, I ain't got nothing like cold. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm gonna watch. Have you guys seen It's a Wonderful Life? My friend Mario's been.
Oh God, yes, yeah.
I've never seen it. I'm gonna watch it this year.
Yeah. Watch it, yeah. No, definitely watch it. I actually like. I'm slowly kind of falling in love with it. Like I saw it for the first time maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, man, this is like, because I think I just had in my head what the movie was. And what was in my head is like the last 20 minutes of the actual movie. And I was like, oh, like there's a whole movie before all that. And it's really like, man, like, I don't know. I thought it was, I don't know if it holds up for some people. Like, I'm curious, like, because we're in a different,
Mario's a huge fan. His joke, he always goes, every year, waterworks.
Yeah. Oh. No, I like it a lot. Like, I was like, man, this is a well-made movie. Like, the characters are compelling. We watched it with Chris, my oldest son, who doesn't usually get into like black and white kind of movies. And he was like into it. You know what I mean? Like, he was invested in what was going on, and it's a simple story. I really like that.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, that's a good one. Trying to think what else. Like, I think Elf has become like a go-to for us.
It's great.
Elf is funny. we always just quote it randomly. Like,
I don't think I've shown that to
Merry
the
Christmas,
boys.
buddy. Hope you find it.
I have to show that to the boys this year for sure.
That's weirdly, as a kid, I used to watch Scrooged like so much as a kid.
With Bill Murray, yeah.
Like I haven't watched
Cat Goldthwait with the shotgun.
It's such a creepy, like, I don't know why. It's such a creepy movie. Like,
when he gets burned, I had like nightmares. When he's in the coffin and he's like, "Don't let him burn me!" Like that messed with me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I used to watch that movie. Like, it used to always be on for some reason, but I don't know if Edward Scissorhands counts as.
I don't think it does, but okay.
I know there's a debate.
It snows.
Yeah. Well, it takes the last part. It takes place during Christmas, right?
Does it?
Yeah, okay. I'm with you. It's a Christmas. It came out around Christmas. It came out around Christmas.
Right. I just only remember that it was snowing as far as Christmas things go. But okay, fair enough. Yeah, I love that Edward Scissorhands. It's like that's still one of the top Tim Burton's movies for me. Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah.
Gotta throw that in there.
Yeah, that's so fun. We watched that like the first what did we right when the day we put the tree up, we then watched Nightmare Before Christmas.
You gotta do the original Grinch. I
love the original Grinch.
I can't get into any of the live action stuff.
Yeah, same.
I'm
Jim Carrey one. Jim Carrey one's weird.
Out.
That one's weird to me because it has developed quite a big following of people who like really love it, and I've watched it a couple times and I just couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't get into it.
I don't like their faces. I can't look at it. It's
the weird
it grosses me out. But the original, I've been listening.
The original one is classic.
Classic, yeah.
And a Charlie Brown Christmas is classic.
Charlie
Brown Christmas.
2 fire soundtracks too.
I grew up. You know what I liked growing up? I liked the Santa Claus. growing up.
I did too.
Tim
Yeah.
Allen.
Oh, with Tim Allen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We watched that with the kids last year, I think, for the first time. And they dug. Well, I think Cam, my son, my youngest son, I don't know. We tried to get him to watch Nightmare Before Christmas, and he was disturbed by that. He didn't.
I love
he got
how
upset.
I love how most of your stories about watching movies with your kids ends with you being disappointed. in Tyler.
Somebody being disturbed.
You just like
Yeah,
Tyler.
never-
He didn't get into it.
Like he's tough because like
Yeah.
it's rare when he likes a movie. I'm like, oh, okay, because he won't sit through
Mhm.
most things. So I'm
Toby's the
surprised.
same way. Yeah.
Ironically, like his favorite movie that he'll sit through is Endgame, a 3.5 hour movie. And he'll watch that and Infinity War. He'll sit and watch like all day, which is weird to me.
That is weird because like
It's like two super long movies.
like it takes a lot for me. Like and that's true of my kids too. Like Ezra's done that a couple times. He's like, let's watch Endgame. It takes a lot for me to want. I like Endgame a lot. I like Infinity War and Endgame a lot. I just can't will myself to sit down and watch them this on a Sunday after Saturday night. In my head, it's like, okay, when I start this movie, like when this movie goes off, it's gonna be dark outside. Do I feel like
Bro, we have watched Endgame in my house at least 25 times or more.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody would have it on and then everybody would just start watching it.
it is?
We did the same thing with Hamilton, and Hamilton is long.
Hamilton is super long.
It's long, and
Hamilton grabs me every time too.
Yeah, if somebody puts it on, like one of them will put it on, and then the whole family will
just slowly
emerge from rooms, like rubbing their eyes, like, oh, what's happening? Like,
that reminds me. So my family's like, I grew up watching a lot of movies I would have never watched on my own because my house was so tiny that everybody, like, you were just forced to watch whatever was on.
Yeah.
And but we also like horror, and like the most unexpected movie that we all watched together on Christmas that everybody was just really thoroughly enjoying was Drag Me to Hell. For some reason, somebody had Drag Me to Hell on Christmas.
That is not like the way I expected that sentence to end.
I didn't expect to be watching.
That's a fun movie though.
It's super fun. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, like, crazy. And it was fun that everybody.
The ending is so dark and sad. Like I always think about that ending, like,
but for whatever reason, like everyone in the room picked up on the humor of it, and there was nobody that was like, "Why are we watching this on this day?" It just like it was like fun. Yeah, like,
why are we watching this on this day?
On this day.
That movie is so extra. I remember being at the barbershop one day and that was randomly on. I was like, oh man, it's just so extra.
Oh, with the disgusting like lady.
The winking eye, the like weird
lady,
dead cataract eye.
Yeah, that was gross.
So gross.
That was Sam Raimi, right?
Yeah.
Like that dude is he's like well suited for a very specific tone and like
you have to go into it knowing that if you're gonna be laughing, like you can't try to take it completely seriously, and that's how the Evil Dead movies are to me too.
Oh my god. Okay, so I introduced me and Jamie watched Evil Dead 2 over our Halloween, our kind of October scary movie month. And she had no idea what she'd seen the first Evil Dead with me like a couple years ago and can only vaguely remember it. Mm-hmm. And she was not ready for what Evil Dead 2. I just lost my light. It just got dark.
I know.
She was not ready for what Evil Dead 2 was. Nor was I.
It's weird.
I have to figure that out. It's crazy. Like the way people just the scene where he's just flying through the woods for like a long time and he hits that tree and then runs into the house and she's like, wait, he's still in front of the house? Like it's a random movie. It's like watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah, that slapstick. I think that was when, like, I don't know, I don't know what the relationship. I know Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are bosom companions on some level, but like it was like Evil Dead 2 was Evil Dead 2 was where it was like, let's play with Bruce Campbell,
Yeah, he got dragged through the ringer in that one. And it was funny because when we watched Spider-Man, he has those cameos.
Yeah.
And James was like, "Is that the guy?" I was like, "Yep." Get ready, he's in all three.
Oh yeah, he is in that. He's in all three of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's yeah, that's true. Because wasn't he
makes
the
a-
ring guy in the
Yeah, he
first
makes a
one?
joke about. He's talked about it in interviews where he's like the most important. He's like, I'm the most important character in Spider-Man movies. He's like, I named him in the first movie, and he was like, I defeated him in the second one because he wouldn't let him into the play.
Oh yeah.
He was like, in the third one, I helped him profess his love because he's the one who had he was the maitre d with the engagement
Oh
ring.
yeah. I was like, who was he in the third one? I couldn't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the super extra maitre d.
Yeah.
Where's my thing? I'm gonna get this thing going. But
Yeah, definitely. I think I just randomly thought of another one for me too. Toy Story 3 is the best Toy Story that was ever created.
Oh,
that's
Hands down to me. Like I think that's the best one.
I don't know, man. I mean, I do think it's probably the best, but like
that one is
there's
fire.
a debate. There's a debate to be had about that though, because like I've seen the argument made that Toy Story 2 and 3 are essentially the same story, and Toy Story 3 handles it better, which I think I agree with. But they are very similar stories, which is this idea that because I think what Toy Story 3 was, it takes the story of Toy Story 2 to the next level. Because like the whole story of 2 is that they're worried about being discarded. They're worried about being given away. They're worried about losing. And the main villain is another
Aren't they
toy that
always
was
worried about
discarded.
that? Like,
Well, the second and third movie,
about that.
but in the second one, the main villain is a toy that got discarded, which is the case in the third movie too. Like there's a lot of parallels, except the third movie is when they actually get given away.
Lotso is so
And they got
fire though.
Lotso
was incredible. That's like one of my favorite villains.
Sociopath bear.
Lotso is so
Lotso hugging bear. Yeah.
That's Ned Beatty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Lotso is excellent. That's another movie in my house where we've watched like a good 30 times.
Toy Story 3 is a good one. I mean, all the Toy Stories are good. Like I enjoy all of them. Even the fourth one.
Okay.
I enjoyed the fourth one. I like that it kind of, again, like what I like is when they lean into choices, and the fourth one leaned into the choices saying like, yeah, maybe your kid doesn't care about you anymore, and you can just, it was like almost a story about parenting in a way. Because it was like, that was the first one where Woody was like, okay, your kid doesn't need you anymore. Like
he retired.
Maybe it's time to move on.
Yeah, that's what I felt like it was about. Retirement was like, what do you do once you have nothing else to like?
Well, I mean,
your kid that's defined you, right? There's a role you played that's defined you for years and years, and now it's like you're not going to have that anymore. Does your life now mean nothing, or do you get to now decide what your life is going to be? And I think that's a really cool idea, and I know, everybody said, oh, they don't need to make it, and they probably didn't, but I enjoyed the shit out of it. And I
liked it. I think of the parenting just as I think it's because I'm at the stage I'm in as a parent with one of my kids, where it's like, oh, my role in this person in his life is never going to be the same again. And I can still love him with the knowledge that he's gonna need me less and less. And am I allowing myself to be defined by the fact that they need me? And if they don't need me anymore, do I lose value? So like that was where my head was, I think, when I watched it. So it's probably why the retirement thing actually probably makes more sense.
I mean, but that too, that just was the least favorite of mine. That was the one that I watched. I was like, yeah, I didn't need this. Like the last one felt finite to me. Like that was it. Like I didn't need anything else.
It felt like a clean into.
It was clean, yeah.
Well, it's that number 3. That's like a natural human thing that we are like think things in threes is like it's a meaningful unit. And I think, but that's also why I think it's interesting to have done a 4. And I'm like, it's an interesting artistic choice to sort of because that conversation was had, right? We want to mess with a trilogy. Like a trilogy is solid. It's a tripod, right?
I would have liked to trilogy too. Like that's one of few perfect trilogies. I feel like like just 3 like exceptionally made movies. Like I
Yeah.
can't really say
All three
too
Toy
much,
Story
but
movies are good. I get
yeah,
all. I mean, all four are good, but like those first three, like they all have moments that are really like the first one was just groundbreaking
yeah, for
altogether,
sure.
and then it also from a story perspective was really it still holds up, really fun.
Mhm.
That second movie, like the whole Jessie backstory where
Mhm.
like she gets left and like
Sarah McLachlan song.
yeah, it's like dang that
Tears.
that
Yeah.
yeah, it gives you the feels and
Yeah,
there's the fun stuff of like this the sort of flipping of Buzz and Woody in terms of Buzz trying to get Woody back now. And
Mhm.
yeah, that was fun. And Kelsey Grammer is the prospector.
perfect trilogy, man, right there.
Children
Man. I don't
destroy
know.
toys. Yeah, like
You guys just we're hedging up on where the end of my babysitting, my requested babysitting.
oh god.
Sorry, I should listen. It's
All
not that
right.
it's not an emergency, but I was like asked till about 7:30. So
Okay,
Oh, I
that's cool.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can wrap it up. We're gonna wrap up the live. I do want to kind of get your thoughts on a couple things, but we'll do that off live. So
okay.
thank you for joining us. If you joined us, if you see this later, what's up? uh
Sorry to be the buzz killer here. I'm just like,
I
oh
know, right? Like
yeah.
if you have any frustration, direct it squarely at Tawny. But thanks for joining us. We don't, we're gonna do more of these. We'll see you next time.